Hi guys, Mike Lambo here. I'm just going to look through today at my war games. It's been 4 years now, almost, since I published my first war game, and I think I'm done now for this year. Just published my latest one, which is Lone U-Boat, and probably a good time to go through the war games in particular. Quick mention for my fantasy games, got a couple of Salacia there, which are one's a sequel of the other, and we've got Quests for the Brave there, which is a very simple dice placement game. Also got 4 sci-fi games, Battle of the Cyborgs, Spiders from Outer Space, Outpost, and Lone Astro Tank, which is a bit like Lone Sherman in space. All been out a while. I think I've done a separate video on sci-fi games, so you can see those 4 featured elsewhere on the channel. And then there's Tank GP, which is a racing game. Slightly anomaly for me, but there we go. I enjoyed it. So this video is not about those. This video is about my war games, which form the other, how many were there? 4, 8, was that 8? I think it was. I think there must be 22 of these now. Many of them have been updated in terms of graphics and so on since first publication. So my first game was Fields. What I'm going to do here is go through them in order, actually, order of publication. That's probably the best way, I think. I can group them into different things and themes and stuff, but I think probably just going through them in order. And you can sort of forward the video on to find particular ones you want or whatever. I'll make it pretty quick. Remember, all of these have on my channel their individual playlists. So if you click on playlists and then look in the playlists, you can find a playlist for each of these where you will find a quick look video where I flick through each of them in turn individually, and instructional playthrough video where I actually play the game and explain the rules and so on, plus various other bits and pieces. Some have playthroughs just for fun and that sort of thing on there. So that's the best way to investigate a particular game that you might fancy, but this is going to be a very quick flick through of the lot, just for those who may be new to the games or just want an overview, really. So there's 22 here. They date from January 22. I've published my first one right through to the late. If I haven't got the latest one, because I haven't got my copy yet, but I'll mention it at the end. That's, let's say, Lone U-Boat, which has been published recently. Here we are in November 25. Yeah, Fields of Normandy then, so Hex Encounter, 15 missions, smaller than the rest, by the way, because it's my first game. I only realised after I published this I could have made it bigger, but there we are. The hexes fortunately are very big. They all come with counters in the back, virtually, the odd exception, which I'll explain as we go through. And the layout of my games is that you get the map, or mission map, on the right, and the key charts that you need on the left. The rules are before that, back here. But once you've read the rules, ideally watched the instructional playthrough video on my channel, then you'll be able to play pretty easily just using the charts, which has all the information on there. This is very simple, easy to get into. It's made for beginners. So the Fields of Normandy, and there's 2 sequels to this, which get more complex, and we'll come across those at the appropriate points, but this is the most simple, the Fields of Normandy. There's the Fields of Normandy 2 and the Fields of Normandy XL, as they will come across those. They're more complex, but this is a nice, simple one to start with. So yeah, Fields of Normandy. Remember, all these are available on Amazon in this form, so perfect bound books, as they call them. They lie flat if you're prepared to be rough with them, so you can bend these things right back on themselves and sort of do that, and they will lay nice and flat. But I appreciate no one wants to do that, but it doesn't, I have never broken a spine of any of my games. I've never had pages falling out or anything, so you can be pretty rough with them. Many of them, but not all of them, are also available on lulu.com, and they come coil bound on there. So every version you buy on lulu.com will be a coil bound. That's all they sell on there of my games. On Amazon, you can only get the perfect bound ones, so you won't get coil bound from Amazon. Or you can download them as PDFs from wargamevault.com. Yes, wargamevault.com. The second one I did was Battles of Normandy, so I moved away from... in the Fields of Normandy, the enemy is static. It appears on these question marks. You don't know what this is going to be, so you get various German units appearing. You move your units up and you have to battle them as you go. When you just find out what they are, use the right sort of your most appropriate units to attack them. And there are tactics to use like flanking and so on. Battles of Normandy, I wanted to have a more mobile enemy, so here the enemy moves. You can see the maps themselves are, well, they're bigger physically because it's a bigger book, but also the hexes are smaller, therefore there's more of them. This has been updated since this version. I haven't got the very latest, but the very latest has graphics which are more of this kind of quality, so better looking. But the maps are big, still fairly simple game though. The enemy movement is quite easy to manage, but they will move around as well as your units moving. There's random unit selection each time you play, random setup, so it's very replayable. There are 8 missions in here, but I'd say extremely one of the most replayable games I've done probably. Rules at the start as usual. Counters are in the back again, so we just cut those out, stick it to card, and cut the individual counters out. You can download that from Board Game Geek as well if you don't want to cut your book up for all the games. Goes to the Jungle, again, one that's been updated, so they both have different covers. They have the covers now that show the game itself, like my other games do, like that. So this has got 10, I think, no, 12 missions in here. This is about Australian SAS in Vietnam. Again, the graphics has been updated, they're much nicer than that now. Again, a simple game, but challenging. They're all challenging. They're all you're making decisions. They're not just die roll. You don't roll a dice and do what it says. You have to decide where you're moving your units, when to attack. This is quite a stealthy game. You're only going to attack in here when you need to, so a little bit different to the rest. So that's worth having a look at on the more detailed videos if you fancy that one. Again, the counters are in the back. There aren't many for that. In fact, some of these are not even really needed, these last 4, so you can get away with not printing too many off there at all. And most of my games you can use generic counters for anyway, from other games, or just cubes or bits of stuff laying around at home that you might have. You don't always need the exact counters, although it does add to the theme a little if you do. Battles of Medieval Britain, this is the updated version. I did update this one as well from its original, but this is kind of how they look now, so much sort of nicer. Again, fairly simple. Again, the AI in this one doesn't move. It does in Ghosts, by the way, but not very complicated in a complicated way. So again, you're setting up your enemy here on these random numbers, depending on die roll. So you get a different setup every time, but then you have to attack. You tend to be the side which is attacking here. And obviously this is medieval Britain, so you've got swordsmen and archers and warriors and horsemen and that kind of thing. And there's different objectives for each mission. Sometimes you have to clear the enemy out of the way, sometimes you have to kill a certain figure from history or whatever it might be. So these are 12 real battles from medieval Britain. You see the terrain makes a difference, there's proper hex and counter games. And having 12 maps in there, it's going to be 12 missions, it's going to last you, or 12 battles I should say, it's going to last you a long time. It's going to give you some good play, very replayable again, and also challenging. Beaches for the Brave, again, actually no, this hasn't been updated. This is still in its very basic form, which is like this. Not the prettiest game, I admit, but it's very addictive and very fast playing. It takes about 5 minutes to play a game. There are 12 missions in here, but they're extremely difficult, and you have to play them again and again and again and again, and hopefully win as many as you can. But it is quite addictive. That's pretty cheap, I think, that one, so might want to have a look at that. Good one to play with the kids, by the way. Great one to play with the kids. They'll like that. Race to Pasto. This is a Lulu coil-bound one, but you can still get it on Amazon. You can still download it to Wargame Vault. It's got the updated graphics on there, you see. So setting the cold. This is similar system to Fields of Normandy 1, but has tanks instead of infantry. There are some German infantry, but you have generally panzers, and you're basically controlling up to 4 Sherman tanks with a bit of support from a Greyhound and an M7 Priest. And again, your job is to find out what enemies are under all these question marks and destroy them as you go. Different missions again have different objectives. You've got the charts on the left hand page as normal, so again, replayable, lots to do in there. Hostage Rescue Squad, something slightly different. There's a hypothetical squad of guys who rescue hostages. Got some nice maps in here. So this is squares based, and there's a sort of small team. I think you have three. I think you have three from memory. 3 good guys in your team. Yeah, there we go. You got Andrew, Beth, and Carlo, and they are out to rescue these red hostages from these bad guys. And you know, you again, this is a stealthy game. You want to stay quiet for as long as you can. When you're getting up, the hostages are starting on the H here, and there's hostiles appearing on these numbers and moving around on these patterned tracks, and you have to time it. You can fire and shoot and throw grenades and stuff when you need to, but you don't want to do that really. You want to keep it stealthy as much as possible. Get in, grab your hostage, get back out. It's good fun. It's good fun. Very replayable. And again, plenty of missions in there. Probably 12, I think. Or is it 10? Might be 10. Yeah, 10 on that one. But lots of variety. I like that. Battles of English Civil War. So moving on from battles of medieval Britain, I decided to do the English Civil War this time. You still got random setup of the enemy, but it does move. It does move, it attacks, plays like a real player. In fact, it's quite difficult. Easy to manage, but you know, each of the enemy units will move each turn. It will hunt, you know, they will come after you. And again, you've got 12 missions, I think. Oh no, hang on, 15. 15 battles in there. Again, proper battles from the English Civil War, like Battle of Naseby, for example, Battle of Marston Moor, you know, famous battles in here. Battle of Lansdowne, Seacroft and Moor, Hopton Heath, Braddock Down, Battle of Edge Hill. Great fun. Yeah, a bit of terrain, a bit of high ground, a few trees, that kind of thing. And these are all games, are all different systems, all different game systems. The best system that fits the sort of type of battles and missions that we're doing. Assault on Vimy Ridge. This is the Canadian forces attacking Vimy Ridge in World War I. It's a little bit more complex, this one. Probably the first time I stepped up to a more complex game, really. So you can see the rules for a start run to more pages. There's more of them. 12 battles, but you can play these. You play this rather as 4 3-battle campaigns, fighting your way up the ridge. Again, there are different objectives for different missions, and this obviously involves trench warfare and that kind of sort of rolling artillery barrages and the sort of things we had in World War I. A lot of hand-to-hand combat at close range. So that's a good one. Again, very replayable. Lots of randomness in there from what the enemy is and what it does. Lone Sherman has been probably my most popular game to date. This is the latest one. This is from, again, is a Lulu-bound one, but you can get it from Amazon, Wargame Vault, just like you can all the others. Updated graphics, which I think look particularly nice on this game. You're in charge of a lone Sherman, obviously 1 Sherman tank, and you have to manage your crew and the damage to the Sherman, which can be repaired and so on. And you have to fight off enemies which appear on the map and achieve certain outcomes, the various missions as you go. And you see there's a good variety of different maps and so on. There are 11 in there, I think. Again, as always, very replayable, lots of meaningful decisions to make, not just a dice chucker. Lots of dice to roll. I do like dice, don't get me wrong, but there's often mitigation, and you have to think about what you're doing with those dice or when to attack and so on and so forth. Battles of Napoleonic Europe, but probably again been one of my most popular books, probably my most popular battles of book. I think Napoleonics has always been popular. This is a pretty thick game, this one. It has 20 battles in. Well, it's got 10 battles, but you can play each battle from both sides. So from the sort of British, Portuguese side, and from the French side. You can see there's got some nice graphics, and again, a different battle system. This one is split, the map is split into 5 sections, and you roll dice to see which section you can activate units in. And again, the enemy moves around and will attack you and activates in a similar kind of way. So again, it feels very much like you're playing against another player. And the rules a little bit longer, but they're always nice and clearly written. Hardly any typos in my games, and when there are, they're corrected as soon as I'm aware of them. So by now these games are all error-free. They're well tested. very clear in the rules. It's feedback I get a lot of from people who buy my games, is that they're really easy to understand, and there's always a video telling you how to play it as well online on my YouTube channel. Long range recon patrol is again back to Vietnam. This time we're going to US recon patrol. We've got 6 guys in your squad, in your little patrol, and you are carrying out covert missions in the deepest bits of the jungle. Again, this is very much a stealth game, not one where you're out to get into gunfights particularly, but it will happen. When it does, you hopefully have the weaponry to deal with it, or the ability to disappear into the deep jungle and wait for things to calm down. There's lots going on there. You have to manage water, you've got claymores and meds, you can heal your guys. There are end of turn events, so there are events and things in here that have various things happening as well. You've got air support. Yeah, there's a lot going on. It's been a popular one. If you fancy that, have a look at the video on my channel. Sequel to Lone Sherman is more or less the same kind of game. It's different enough, but it's set this time in the Pacific. So again, you're controlling one Sherman tank, but you are driving around various Pacific islands, such as Tarawa, Saipan, and again hunting out and trying to perform certain missions. You don't always start, but you start each individual campaign section on a particular island in the sea. You've got to get out there as quick as you can, really, and then move inland and deal with the various objectives that you are given by the game. Again, very replayable. This time, obviously, you're up against the Japanese tanks, which are weaker, but you're also against Japanese infantry, which tends to be quite dangerous. So, and again, counters in the back to make. Never loads, but a few in there just to cut out, stick on card cut out. Very easy to do. Again, I've got videos on my YouTube channel explaining how you might do that. Fields of Normandy 2, so this is a sequel to the original Fields of Normandy. It's similar in size, but the maps are all sort of big, or the biggest that there were in Fields of Normandy. Fields of Normandy 1, the maps got bigger as you went on. Fields of Normandy 2, they're all the same size as the biggest in Fields of Normandy 1. There's also slightly more to it. There's a few extra rules in there to think about, and you can play this again as a campaign, keeping a note of victory points. Can you, Mike? You're saying that? Yes, you can. There we are. There's your table to keep note of victory points and things as you go. It's quite tough, that might be the toughest Fields of Normandy 2, although it's not the most complex. It's probably the toughest, I think. This is Fields of Normandy XL. Should that be there? Don't feel like it's in the right place, but never mind. In chronological order, I think that probably came later, but there it is. We might as well look at it now. So this is again a Lulu bound version, but again you can play this as a campaign. You can see the map suddenly went larger, and also you've got more units to control as well. So added into this one, there's a sniper and a lieutenant. So you've got more things to think about. There's also more terrain features and just more going on generally. 1 or 2 more enemies. Still the same kind of thing. You're moving your squad up through here. The enemies appear on these numbered hexes randomly. You don't know what they are till you get there, but you can scout them out, and there's all sorts in this game. All sorts. You find cover. You can assault. You can call in artillery. You can say scout, fire, move. You can rally guys who have been hit. You can chuck grenades. There's all sorts of stuff going on. Really good small tactical skirmish game. It's great fun. Battles of Kursk. So again, back to this is similar to the Battles of Normandy style, and this is, I showed you Battles of Normandy earlier, said it had been updated. So this is more like what Battles of Normandy looks like now. So better graphics. So similar kind of system, but in this game, Battles of Normandy is very much infantry based. In this one, you are seeing quite a lot of tanks, although it is very mixed. So you've got, your Soviets have rifles, MGs, captains, snipers, anti-tank guns, but then you've got anti-tank artillery as well, armoured personnel carriers, T-34 tanks, T-70 tanks, so lots of mixed stuff going on there. And similarly, the Germans have lots of mixed units as well. You're moving around for cover. There's a slightly different way you activate on this and how things work, but again, it's good. Fun. Each mission is different, has different objectives. The AI is moving around, coming after you and trying to stop you achieving those objectives. So again, quite challenging game. Enjoyable. Rifle Squad games. There was 2 of those, so I did them one after the other. Got Rifle Squad US at Omaha Beach and Rifle Squad the British Home Guard. So this is obviously dealing with the Americans at Omaha Beach. So you are landing. Generally here you do 3 missions in a campaign. So you land on the beach, one of these landing missions, and then you work your way inland, and then finally you are achieving some final objectives. And there's like an extreme edition at the back if you found that too easy, which I'm sure you won't. It's actually really hard. Quite what possessed me to do an extreme campaign. There's only 3 of those, but there's an extreme campaign at the back if you fancy it. But this is, as you can probably tell, the charts are much more complex, or at least involved than my earlier games. So if you fancy a bit more of a challenge in terms of learning, you know, having a decent game to learn, then you've got 40-page rulebook here. Again, nicely written out, all clear, lovely graphics in there, diagrams, lots of examples of play and so on. Not difficult to learn, especially if you read the rules, watch my video, should be up and running. The other thing I should mention about all these games really is the charts on the pages here are always in the order you do things. So you work your way through these, and whilst it looks a bit challenging, it's not really. It's telling you to do this bit first, then this bit, then this bit, then this bit. It's nice, you know, nice and easy. Keeps the flow of the game running. So Rifle Squad British Home Guard is very similar, similar kind of game, but this time obviously you're more on the defensive. So this time it's the Germans that are landing and invading the UK, and your job is to defend that with your Home Guard guys. Apart from that, the systems are quite similar, but the games play quite differently because of the nature of them. Then, after lots of nagging, light-hearted nagging from across the pond, I succumbed to doing Battles of the American Civil War, which in the end I thoroughly enjoyed. So the first game, the main edition, I should say, covers the first year basically of the war. Has 10 battles, a bit like Napoleonics, but you can play each one both ways. So there are actually 20 individual scenarios. You can see fairly nice graphics, and there's all kinds of different battles from the American Civil War in there. Again, this is one where the map is split into areas. Again, a bit like Napoleonics. It's a similar system, but not quite the same. And the enemy will come at you and attack, depending on exactly what they're trying to do and what you're trying to do. The rulebook's not huge for this one, 25 pages or so, and again, a lot of that, or quite a bit of that, will have big that's one big example on on a whole page. So all nice and clear, and you've got your units at the back here. Actually, a lot of my games on Board Game Geek, you'll find variations of these that people have done. So you might find nice. I'm still working on my counter ability. I think my maps are sort of getting there, but my counters probably still leave a little bit to be desired in some games. Some are better than others. I'm getting there, but still. You can always find better on Board Game Geek if you want them. Use those. Then I did the expansion for it, which covered the other 3 years, 3 years of the war, more or less. And that's another 20 scenarios. So taking you from 21 to 40. And again, that has the same kind of graphics. Exactly the same game, by the way. There's a few extra rules in here, but not much. It is mainly a scenario book. So there's, literally a couple of pages of rules. And then you're back into the fight. So it clearly says Wargame expansion, don't buy that without that. Okay, so best thing to do is buy that, see if you like it, and then if you do, there's more to get. Okay, that's that one. Then I did another kind of similar to Hostage Rescue Squad, but this time it was E Squadron, which is a very secretive British squad that does Spec Ops stuff. Again, nice graphics at the back here. You've got 10 missions, which are very varied, with lots of different objectives. And this time you've got 6 guys, but you only choose 2, 3 or 4 of them randomly to do each mission. So straight away you get that replayability, because you have different teams that have different abilities and so on, different special abilities. You've got bad guys coming at you as well. And again, it's very much a stealth game, but when you need to, you can fight as well. Not overly complex, and you've got probably 20 pages of rules, and there's lots of examples and things in there again. It's nice and clear, type's really big. Yeah, honestly you can read it in 30 minutes to an hour or something, and then you watch the video, see how I play it, and then you have a go, maybe check a few things in the rules, and you should be away to go. Hellcat tankers, personally pretty pleased with this one. This is my last but one game as speaking now in November 2025. Published this link back in September 25. So this is a sort of an advancement, if you like, of Lone Sherman. It's a similar kind of thing. You are controlling one Hellcat, which is a sort of American tank destroyer. The maps are bigger in terms of the number of hexes, is larger than Lone Sherman, and it's just more complex. There's far more crew management. It's about managing the crew, hence it's called Hellcat tankers rather than just Hellcat. It's the tankers themselves which you are managing really, and they can level up over time, and you play this very much as a campaign, a full campaign. There are 12 days, because it's a 12-day battle. There's the Battle of Haraucourt in France, World War II. There are 12 battle days in that battle, from September the 18th, I think, yeah, to the 29th is when it ran, 1944, and there's a mission for every page, and you play a campaign by working your way through those 12 days, although you don't, each time you play different battles. You don't play every day, you play certain battles depending on how you get on and various other things. So again, different each time you play, and your tankers will level up differently, and so you'll have to play things slightly differently, and the units you face are randomised to some degree. So there's a lot of replayability again in there. As I say, my final game that I've just published is called Lone U-Boat. And that is very much in the vein of Lone Sherman. As I say, it was one of my most popular games, but obviously you are in charge there of a single U-boat in World War II around the UK and the North Atlantic, and you are trying to take out Allied merchant shipping whilst they are protected by destroyers and corvettes and air support and all kinds of stuff. And you've got to decide. Again, there's a bit of stealth to it. You might want to spend a lot of time deep under the water, but you do need to come up to fire your torpedoes and achieve the objectives now and again, and then get off the map as quick as you can. So it's a good one. Again, just like all these, it works in the same way. It's got counters and so on. In fact, there's a map from it. As you can see that, that's what it looks like. That's the kind of sheet you get next to it with the charts on. But again, there's lots of variety. There's another map there, for example. So there's lots of variety. I think there are 10 in that, 10 missions. And not many counters in that one either, so it's a good one as well. Okay guys, remember they're all available on Amazon worldwide. Just make sure you go on your local Amazon sites to get the best shipping. So if you're in the UK, that's .co.uk, isn't it? If you're in the US and various other places, it's amazon.com. But I'm sure you'll know, wherever you are, the best Amazon site to order from. Or if you prefer the spiral bound versions, I think there are about half of them are on Lulu. Then they do lay nice and flat like that. So they're on lulu.com, or you can download them from Wargame Vault and print your own bits and pieces, because all you really need to print, of course, are the maps and possibly the charts and the counters. You can leave the rule book as an electric PDF if you prefer to refer to as you need it. So that is a summary of my first 22 war games, and very briefly at the start you saw my 8 other games. So I've hit the big 3-0 in my first 4 years as a game designer. Hope you found that useful. Thanks guys.